All morning I was torn between thoughts. Should I rush home and check? Or stay because there's too much to do to chase after some theory I wasn't even sure about anymore? In the end, I just got up after the first class and headed to the car. And honestly, in a way, I kind of regret going. When I got to the apartment, Dec's car wasn't there. Only Alexis's. I walked toward the door with my heart pounding like crazy. I don't even know what I was expecting. Right by the door, I immediately heard a man's voice. He was talking and laughing, and in response, a woman's whisper. Quiet laughter. I pressed my ear to the door, trying to catch the words, but only caught bits and pieces. Then I heard Alexis laughing as someone tickled her, and she was squealing. Maybe I should have waited? Now I get it. Yeah, I should have. But back then, I couldn't hold back. The moment I started fiddling with the keys at the apartment, everything went dead silent. She was fooling around with Mark. I didn't mention Mark in my last post, but he's one of the guys from the neighboring apartment, not the one who hinted at me. The only one I never liked. Always had that smug, jerk vibe. He kept making inappropriate comments about both girls. I didn't pay much attention at first, but the moment I walked in, they both looked at me with shocked faces. All my naive hopes that there might be an innocent explanation vanished instantly. I wanted to yell at them, demand answers, but even that felt humiliating. Tears welled up in my eyes. I didn't want them to see, so I just said, "Great, just freaking great." Then I stormed back to the car. I heard Alexis shouting my name in the hallway, and I quickened my pace. For some reason, I expected her to run after me, but when I got to the car, there was no one behind me. I drove to the park near my apartment and just sat there in shock. Strangely, my first thought was how my family would react. I didn't even have time to reply before another message came through. She was begging me to come back because she was having a panic attack. I've always helped her with that before. Maybe I'm heartless, but I thought, well, she kind of had it coming. Then there was a pause, and she wrote, "I don't get why you're so jealous. We were just talking." I waited a bit longer. Look, I know how it looks. Honestly, if I were you, I'd think the same. But nothing happened between us. He just needed advice about his relationship. Trust me. No, I don't owe you anything. I trusted you. Usually, I'd feel some kind of bitter satisfaction watching a cheater squirm. But my dumb brain just kept replaying all our happy moments over and over, wondering, was she already cheating back then? Later that night, I got a message from an unknown number. It was that normal guy from the apartment next door. He wrote, "I'll put it in my own words since the message was long. I got your number from Derek, apologized, said he felt sorry for what I'm going through and that he should have told me earlier but wasn't completely sure. He knew his friend was dating a girl who already had a boyfriend but didn't connect the dots until he heard the name." Like many of you guessed, that comment was his way of trying to hint at me. So yeah, he's probably the biggest jerk of the year. I don't think D-Rack and Brock know yet. I haven't reached out to them because I just don't have the words. I get that all this is going to mess up our daily lives and our friendship. I probably should text them before Alexis twists everything to her advantage. I'm curious what the normal neighbor said. When did he ask for my number? I doubt he told them everything because they would have reached out by now. But if they took her side, then I've lost not just my girl, but my friends too. If anyone has any advice on how to get through this, especially if you've been through something similar, please let me know. I barely have anyone to talk to, except the guy I'm living with right now. Alexis, Brooke, and Derek were basically my family. Alexis and I were even talking about living together. I've never taken a girl that seriously. They were sitting on the couch with this "we just got caught" look, and suddenly went silent. It was definitely not one of those scenes like, "Oh, look who showed up." When I posted my last update, I finally realized how stupid I'd been for not telling Derek and Brooke my side of the story. I took a screenshot of a message from a regular neighbor, Will. By the way, all the names are made up except Mark, because screw you, Mark. Within a minute, Derek started calling and texting me, and it became clear he had no idea what was going on. At the same time, Alexis was blowing up my phone, begging to meet up. I felt awful and just sent Derek one message, "Couldn't talk," then put my phone away until morning. In the morning, I got a message from him inviting me to meet at my favorite restaurant, have dinner and drinks on him, of course. He promised no one else would be there, not even Brooke. I hadn't had much of an appetite since all this started, but that invite meant a lot to me, and I really wanted to see him, so I decided to go. Man, I was the first to get to the restaurant and almost freaked out thinking Alexis might be there too, but she wasn't. Derek came up to me, hugged me, and started with, "Dude, what the hell?" And that's when the craziness began. A lot of you said Brooke might side with Alexis or even knew everything all along. I wasn't sure myself. She's definitely closer to Alexis, but I've been friends with her longer. According to Derek, as soon as he told her, she flipped out. Quote, "I kinda wanted to yell at Alexis, but then there was Brooke. She did everything for me, and even more." Remember, I said Alexis is from a conservative small town. Her parents didn't know we were living together, and she was constantly stressed about it, worried that if they'd stop supporting her. They were polite to me, but always worried that our relationship would, and they didn't want her to get pregnant or anything like that. Derek said that Brooke told Alexis to pack her things and move out, or else she'd call her parents and spill everything. According to Derek, later that night Alexis was sitting in, she was in the living room, clutching my sweater that I'd left there, screaming at the top of her lungs that her was over, while Brooke shouted back from her room. But maybe hooking up with Mark wasn't something after all. Just imagining that moment was kind of funny. Brooke was always straightforward and strong-willed, but I that coming. It was really touching how seriously she took her friend. During dinner, all my fears about losing friends, and I even managed to eat a couple of sushi pieces. After dinner, Derek promised to let me. She'll move out, so I can come back. I said no, because even if she leaves, everything in the apartment reminds me of her, including Deke and Brooke themselves. Second, Alexis and Mark probably hooked up in my room, and I don't there anymore. And third, in my current emotional state, I don't want to be the third couple, even if about it. He got me, said to let him know if I mind. Looks like the friendship between Brooke and Alexis is pretty much over. Nothing much happening this week. What was happening
was that I kept having to avoid Alexis. Our undergrad program is small, only about 60 people, so we have a lot of classes together. I asked 2 friends, keep an eye on her, see if she's waiting for me, and started showing up to class at the—
She gave him hope. And it was that guilt that kept her from firmly shutting him down later on. She kind of believed that everything that happened was her fault. Plus, she said she has a hard time saying no. She wrote that they only slept together 3 times, and that she didn't like it because he supposedly pressured her. It's not rape, but I don't know. I don't think I actually said no, right? And she was planning to stop things right when I walked in. Then she said she'd understand if I needed time and space. But she's ready. Do whatever it takes to fix the situation and dedicate the rest of your life to making things right. Like treating me like a king. I'll never cook, clean, or do laundry again. Give me full access to her phone and passwords. Even suggested installing the Life 360 app to track her location, so I always know where she is. Cut off all contact with Mark and all her guy friends. Just in case, apparently. Intimacy anytime I want. Yeah, sounds freaking awesome. Healthy relationships. Yeah, right. Honestly, I didn't say anything. I was tempted to keep her as a friend and just watch the whole clown show unfold. She'd already started posting sappy statuses, song lyrics about mistakes, forgiveness, even lines from our song. But I know myself. I'd just end up scrolling through her page and old photos forever. So I blocked her. A couple hours later, D-Rack messaged me. She's screaming and crying that I blocked her. Now, on to something nicer. The family I'm with now. I'm living here, and it's just amazing. I felt a bit awkward taking up their space, using their electricity and all that. So I offered to pay for the first month and some bills. I don't have a job, but my parents give me decent money for rent and food. But they refused. My friend's dad said, "First month is free. If you need to stay longer, we'll talk," and winked. My friend told me they've taken in his sister and her I'm keeping in touch with Derek and Brooke, but I'm limiting how much I hang out with them, because they remind me too much of Alexis. I messaged Brooke to thank her for kicking Alexis out, and she said she would have done it anyway, whether I came back or not. She'll let me know when Alexis moves out so I can grab my stuff. In the meantime, I'm studying a lot, applying for grad school, and spending time with a friend I'm staying with. This week I posted in the university group chat. Facebook. I'm looking for roommates for next semester and have already gotten a few responses. I'll wait until exams are over to tell my parents everything, because my mom asks a million questions about every little thing, and I'm just not in the right headspace to deal with that right now. Thanks so much to everyone who messaged me. I honestly didn't expect this much attention. Love you all, guys. Update 3. Honestly, I wasn't planning to write anything else, but you've asked for updates so many times that I feel like I owe you one. Especially after all the support I got. When the exams were over, considering everything that happened, I handled it pretty well. It all hit me like a ton of bricks. Honestly, it was almost worse than the cheating itself. I deleted all our pics from social media and threw away anything that reminded me of Alexis. took our songs out of my playlists, and stuff like that. We were inseparable from the moment we met. So that was over 2 years of memories. Anyway, it was really tough, but I wanted to do it. Get this done before the new year. You know, the usual. New year, new life, I guess. Not sure. Anyway, one commenter messaged me saying that now Alexis, having lost everything, her closest friends, her boyfriend, and her apartment, might do something to herself. I know how dramatic that sounds, but after reading it, I just couldn't get it out of my head. Yeah, what she did was absolutely awful. But I felt like a final conversation might have helped me sort things out, and maybe made her understand that it's all over, and to let her move on. I showed up and she was already sitting at the table. She stood up to hug me, but I brushed her off, and she jumped back like a scared puppy. I felt awful right away, but I just wanted to get it over with. At first we had this awkward, polite small talk. She asked how I was, how my exams went, that kind of stuff. But I cut her off and asked if she was unhappy in our relationship. Her eyes got huge and she started babbling. No, 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 then went quiet. When I asked if everything was fine, then why, she started talking again. She was telling her side, saying it was hard for her to say no and that he was really pushing her. I cut her off and told her to stop talking nonsense and just take responsibility. Maybe everything, huh? A kiss in the middle of a sentence might be explainable, but 3 times? No way. She looked down, shrugged, and mumbled, "You're right, I know." Then tears welled up, and she started talking about how sorry she was that I'd never understand how much she regrets it. After that, she finally asked if there was any chance we could get back together. Honestly, that's exactly what I expected, even though I told her not to do it. I just shook my head and said if she wanted, she could keep living with Derek and Brooke. She refused and said she'd already arranged to move in with a friend. From there, the conversation just went in circles. She tried to justify her actions by saying she was afraid of being seen as cold. And I was trying to get her to admit it was all just excuses. I don't know why, but I really needed her to stop hiding behind that. She dismissed it with a cheap excuse and admitted it. She completely and knowingly blew a great relationship with a real future. But she didn't want to admit it. Stubborn, she always was. In the end, I let it go, and we parted ways more or less peacefully. As we were leaving, she grabbed my hand like she wanted to say something, but just shook her head and let go. At first, that meeting only made me feel worse, but eventually, I realized that even if she hadn't cheated, she still wasn't the person I wanted. She never took responsibility for her actions. She flunked the course. The professor can't find an internship or a job, but it's just bad luck, not because she's not trying. I just hadn't really thought about it before. I guess I was still in the honeymoon phase. To be honest, sometimes I'm a total idiot. After the coffee shop meeting, I texted Derek and invited him to hang out. In the end, I showed up at the apartment, even though Brooke was home. She stayed in her room almost the whole time. We had some beer, played video games. It really lifted my spirits. We talked a bit about what's been going on. He admitted they couldn't find a third roommate, just some random strangers they didn't want to let into their lives, and he asked me again to come back. You could tell he really wanted that, and I felt awkward knowing they were stuck with the rent now. So, I agreed, but told him I'd wait until Alexis picked up all her stuff. All the furniture is hers, and I still don't want to sleep. in that bed. By the way, Brooke apologized for butting into the situation and yelling at Alexis. It turns out her stepdad cheated on her mom, and it's a really painful topic for her. I told her I wasn't upset at all and that she's always welcome to do it again if she's in the mood. I also invited Will, our awesome neighbor, out for food and drinks at a great spot near campus. A lot of you wanted to know why he can't stand Mark so much. Turns out, he literally had to force him to pay rent. He claimed he couldn't chip in for everyday stuff like cleaning supplies, light bulbs, rags, and all. It would have been nice, but my older brother proposed to his girlfriend on Christmas Eve. And with everything going on, I just couldn't be happy for him. Because of that, I felt like a terrible brother. Plus, now the whole family won't stop talking about it, and I'm just not in the right headspace. Life's far from perfect right now, but I'm definitely doing better. Alexis took all her stuff and I bought a bookcase and a dresser from another student. Classes started last week, and this might sound boring, but the courses are honestly awesome. The teachers are awesome. Dake and Brock really have my back and never make me feel like the odd one out. One time, I saw Mark in the hallway. He totally ignored me, so I ignored him right back. Damn, I really wanted to punch him. I guess the feeling will pass with time. I wanted to confront him, but judging by what Will said, talking to him would have just pissed me off and gotten me nowhere. Sorry this update isn't as dramatic as the last one. Thanks for all the love and support. You really helped me get through a tough time. I'm starting to think something's going on between my girlfriend and my friend. We all live together. Maybe I'm just imagining things. I'm on edge because if my suspicions are true, living together is going to turn into a nightmare. Please tell me I'm losing it. I'm 22. We're 4 people living together, 2 couples, and we all go to the same university. The apartment was originally rented by my girlfriend, Alexis, since 2022. We've been together about 2 years, along with our mutual friend, Brooke. She's 22 too. The place is huge and really nice. They were supposed to have 3 girls living there from the start, but one suddenly backed out. They were planning to move somewhere cheaper, but they'd put so much effort into the apartment and gotten so attached to it that just the thought of moving made them hate it. I suggested moving in with them when my lease ended in May, so we could split the rent and utilities 3 ways. I was already crashing at their place a lot. My girlfriend and her friend were totally excited about the idea. Shortly before I moved in, Brooke started dating my best friend Derek. It was awesome because now both couples could hang out together with their best friends and partners at the same time. Everything seemed perfect. Drake also started staying over at Brooke's place a lot when his parents sold their house and moved away in October. He moved in with us for a while. We didn't pressure him to find a new place since splitting the cost between 4 people made things way easier for everyone. But just to remind you, only Alexis and Brooke are on the lease. Luckily, the landlord doesn't mind as long as the rent gets paid on time, because we always keep things quiet. There were 3 times that made me think something weird was going on. If it weren't for all of them together, I'd never suspect anyone of anything. Alexis is sweet and shy, and Derek's like a brother to me. There was no flirting between them, but like I said, we're all close friends and spend a lot of time together. First time. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have early classes. So by 8 a.m., we're already out of the house. Alexis has classes. Message. That seemed odd. She's exactly the type who never lets go of her phone, she finally replied after a while, which was unusual for her too. Later that same day, I ran into Brooke, and she casually mentioned that Derek stayed home with a fever and she was going to bring him some soup. I didn't think much of it then. That evening, when I got home, I noticed Alexis's car was parked in the exact same spot. She usually parks in the guest spot since we only have 3 parking spaces. She's always on the move because of her job. I asked if she went to class today, and at first she hesitated, then admitted sheepishly that she skipped because the professor explains everything terribly. She knows I don't like when she misses classes since her grades used to drop because of it. But lately, she's been trying. I kissed her and told her I trust her judgment. While I was washing the dishes, she said she probably won't do that again because staying home alone is just creepy. Bored. I laughed, and we went our separate ways. When we went to bed and I was just about to fall asleep, it hit me. She wasn't supposed to be alone. Derek stayed home with a fever after all. So she was still on her phone, and I suddenly woke up and asked her if Derek was home today, since Brooke said he was feeling sick. She definitely got flustered, but maybe it was because I woke up abruptly and asked a weird question. She said he was there a little in the morning, but then went out for errands, though she wasn't entirely sure. Later on, after some other events, I realized her messy answer seemed kinda suspicious. Although, maybe I was just imagining things. The second time, I went to take out the trash in the kitchen and noticed a condom wrapper, exactly like the ones Alexis and I use. It wasn't in plain sight, just tucked behind a cereal box, but the distinct color of the packaging caught my eye right away. Brocky. Derek always uses a different brand, the free ones they hand out at the University Med Center, but ours are the pricey Trojans. That struck me as odd. It was weird because we usually just throw that stuff in the trash, like in our rooms, and there's never any in the kitchen. Plus, with exams and all the stress, Alexis and I hadn't slept together in a while.
It was weird because we usually just throw that stuff in the trash, like in our rooms, and there's never any in the kitchen. Plus, with exams and all the stress, Alexis and I hadn't slept together in a while. I didn't dig through the trash looking for a used condom. I just went to check the room to see if any of our pack was missing. But since we buy them in bulk, it was hard to tell. My first thought was that Brooke and Derek had run out and took ours without asking. That kinda hurt. They could have, at least say something out of courtesy. Later that evening, I mentioned it to Alexis, and her eyes got huge. When I shared my theory, she reacted way too strongly. She's usually pretty calm, but this time she started getting all upset, saying it was a violation of personal boundaries. I suggested we talk to them about it, but she immediately stopped me and made me promise not to bring it up unless it happens again. She just didn't want that awkward conversation, which seemed weird. We're usually pretty open with each other. We're talking about intimate stuff since we live together. Though, maybe Alexis is just shy. She's from a conservative small town and doesn't talk about these things as much as we do. Case 3. Derek and I get along fine with the guys next door. They graduated from our university. We don't exactly hang out, but we say hi and chat about sports in the hallway. And if someone jokes around, you can always ask them to keep it down, no big deal. Last Monday was actually a day off for us. I was leaving the apartment when no one else was home and ran into one of the neighbors. We chatted about football, and then he mentioned that one of the couples in our building is totally into morning sex. Said the walls are way too thin. I laughed because Alexis and I usually do that on weekend mornings when no one's around. Brock and Derek often go to her parents' place, about an hour to an hour and a half away, on weekends. But later that day, I started thinking. We haven't really been doing that much in the mornings these past few weeks. you know? Weekends are more like evenings or not at all. So he meant weekdays. I felt my chest tighten, wanted to ask, but the conversation was already over, and I realized I missed my chance. Plus, it felt kind of awkward to bring it up. What if I'm just being paranoid? That's the story. I'm losing my mind, looking for signs where there aren't any. But maybe something is happening. And if I'm right, what do I do? I don't want to talk to Alexis yet because first, I don't want to come off like a jealous psycho if nothing's going on. And second, what if something's definitely going on, and I don't want them to start hiding even more carefully? I thought about dropping by in the morning when it's just the two of them at home, but I'm not sure when the right time would be. If I come too early or too late, they might get suspicious. So, how about we pause this video right now and you drop your advice for the author in the comments. Also, let me know if you think the author's suspicions are justified. Personally, I'd probably get a bit paranoid too, but still stick around for the second part. I was gonna ask about those condoms. Now, on to the update. First update. Most of you suggested I talk to Brooke or try to catch them in the act. I decided to do both. On Sunday night, everyone came back to the apartment. I was about to talk to Brooke alone about what the